You know, Alan Dershowitz is a world-renowned author. You know that. A criminal lawyer, law professor, civil liberties defender, author of more than 40 books. And Avi, as he allows me to call him, his most recent book is Defending Israel, the story of my relationship with my most challenging client. Professor Dershowitz, welcome back to the show, sir. How you doing this morning, Avi?
I'm doing great. I wish Israel was doing better. I wish they'd elect a prime minister already. You know, Israel is a great democracy, and democracies are unpredictable. Even the Arab list got the third largest number of seats, and people call Israel an apartheid country. It's such nonsense. It's the only democracy in the Middle East and one of the most vibrant democracies in the world. So I'm proud to have written my book, Defending Israel.
So give us a breakdown, and I'm glad you brought that up, Professor, of what's going on in Israel. Where are we? And see, I'm a Bibi Netanyahu guy. Are you as well? I mean,
Well, I'm a good friend of his. I've known him since he's in his early 20s.
Yeah,
I met him when he was
wow.
a student at MIT.
Wow.
We go back. I never go to Israel without having dinner with Bibi and Sarah. In fact, I was supposed to have dinner with him this week when he came to the UN, but of course he canceled his visit to the UN because he's trying to form a government. Whether he'll be successful or not, we don't know. I mean, he has one more seat in his coalition than his opponent, but his opponent's party won two more seats than his Likud party. It's very complicated. Right now, you have Israel and Great Britain showing the limitations of parliamentary democracies, and the United States showing the stability of our system of government. Of course, the Democrats are trying to destabilize it by impeaching our president, but that would be unconstitutional. So, you know, thank God for the stability that our country has. We have elections every 4 years. You don't like the president, you vote against him. But this idea of impeaching him because you don't like a phone call that he made to a foreign president, it just violates the Constitution.
And, you know, Alan, Professor, you didn't even vote for Donald Trump, so you had no skin in the game in that regard. So tell us, and maybe you could explain to it because of your intellect, sir, is like, and I try to do it in layman's terms. The New York Times picture of Pelosi with the American flags in the background. What do they think? We're stupid? I mean, honestly, it's more of a rhetorical question. But after the Mueller probe, how are we supposed to buy any of this inquiry business?
Well, you know, her favorite statement, Pelosi, and I like Pelosi, her favorite statement is, no one is above the law. But that applies to Congress as well. Congress is not above the law. And the law says you can't impeach a president unless he has engaged in treason or bribery or other high crimes and misdemeanors. There was a great debate at the Constitutional Convention, and one of the founding fathers said, let's just make the criteria for impeachment maladministration of office. And the majority said, no, that would turn us into Britain. That would turn us into Congress having the power to have a vote of no confidence for the president. That's not the system we want. We want a system where a president's elected every 4 years, and unless he commits high crimes or misdemeanors, he stays in office. If you don't like what he did, vote against him.
And then obstruction of justice. Oh, obstruction of justice. If I hear that from Swalwell and Nadler and all the and Adam Schiff, I mean, then I keep asking, and I've seen some reporters say, what exactly is the obstruction of justice? You never get an answer, Professor.
Well, not only is there no obstruction of justice, the president's team has offered to turn over the transcript of the conversation, which I'm not sure he should do. I think presidential conversations with other presidents should remain confidential unless there's strong evidence that a crime was committed. He said the whistleblower can testify. That's the opposite of obstruction. That's facilitation of justice. And it's the Democrats. Look, I'm a Democrat, but I just don't like when they weaponize the criminal justice system, weaponize the Constitution for partisan purposes. I have one test. I call it the shoe on the other foot test. If Hillary Clinton were the president now, and she were doing this, and the Republicans would try to impeach her, which I think some Republicans would try to do,
right,
the Democrats would be up in arms. They'd be screaming and yelling unconstitutional. Well, I scream and yell unconstitutional regardless of which party is doing it to the other party, because I care more about the Constitution than I do about the political parties in this country.
And if the Democrats went forward with impeachment, Professor, how would that compare to the impeachment of Presidents Johnson and Clinton?
Well, you know, President Johnson was a very close case. There was a tie vote in the Senate. They only lost by a vote. The Clinton thing was a joke. They never were going to get him. You needed 2/3. They didn't even get a majority in the Senate. and they couldn't get a majority. In order to impeach a president, you have to have support from his party. The reason Nixon left office is the Republicans were going to vote to impeach him. And the only way any president ever gets impeached and removed from office is when it's a bipartisan effort, when the crime is so clear that members of his own party vote to impeach and remove. That's not going to happen here.
And then before we let you go, Professor, appreciate your valuable time. This goes through the House. Whatever happens, they still have to go through the Senate. Do you think this inquiry will go anywhere, or is just bluster on Speaker Pelosi's part?
I think it's bluster. I think it's going to backfire. As a Democrat, I'm upset that the Democrats, I think, are hurting their chances. It's not going to pass the House, but if it were to pass the House, it would never get two-thirds in the Senate. Defending
Israel. That's Alan Dershowitz's new book. And, Alan, before we let you go, I see you're in the paper again today with this defamation case. Do you have any interest on commenting about that, sir? Can you do that, Alan?
Oh, sure. You know, I'm telling you the truth. I'm willing to say on your radio show, subject to defamation, I never met this woman. She is lying. She has committed perjury. I challenge her to get on your show and accuse me of any misconduct. She would then be defaming herself. She's never accused me other than behind the litigation privilege in court papers, and I never met her. I don't know her. She made up the whole story. She's a disgrace to the Me Too movement. Her lawyers are a disgrace to the Me Too movement. They destroy a good movement, which depends on the credibility of accusers, by making a totally false accusation. I have her own emails basically say she never heard of me. She didn't know who I was. She never met me until she met her lawyers. Her lawyers put the pot of gold in front of her and said, essentially, if you accuse Dershowitz, you can make a lot of money. And she accused me, and she's made a lot of money. All of this will come out at the trial. All right. And I'm counting on justice being done.
Alan Dershowitz, Avi Dershowitz, Defending Israel is the name of the book. Avi, thanks so much for being so upfront and personal on the program with us. We appreciate it, my friend, and hopefully we'll see you soon, Alan. Thanks so much. Alan Dershowitz right there with Piscopo in the morning. It's 9:30.